what's good? You're listening to the Urban Sports Scene, Washington Commanders versus Philadelphia Eagles game recap. I'm Wole. I'm not alone. I got Bowie TV's Commanders reporter, Candi Waller. What's going on, Candi?
Hey, everybody.
I got Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus's Commanders reporter, Donna Hopkins. What's going on, Donna?
What's up, peeps?
And also, I got Sports Journeys, also host of the No Bland Show, Dujunnea Bland. What's going on, Dujunnea?
What's going on, guys?
How y'all doing today?
Hey.
Fantastic.
I'm a little tired. You okay? You got your energy up for the show, Donna? You got your energy up a little bit?
Trust me, you say the wrong thing, I will have my energy up.
I know that's right. All right. Well, Sunday in the NFC Championship game, the Commanders were eliminated by the Philadelphia Eagles, getting crushed 55-23. I'm not trying to remember that game. I'm trying to forget it. Positive thoughts. Positive thoughts. All right, before we get into this into that annoying game, it was annoying for me. I'm still trying to. I'm a little better. Sunday I was horrible. Monday I was horrible. I'm better now. I'm a lot better now. So my friends were checking up on me. Appreciate y'all for checking up on me too. I'm a lot better now. I'm a better person. But before we get into the game, hey, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and other podcast platforms. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. Make sure you subscribe to the Urban Sports and YouTube channel. If you're on there right now, hit that red subscribe button. Also, like this video. Don't forget to tweet us at Urban Sports Scene. Hit us up on IG and TikTok at Urban Sports Scene, and like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Also, join our Urban Sports Scene Facebook group. Search Urban Sports Scene, sports bloggers, sports podcasters, and sports debates. All right, let's get right into the game. I'm gonna start with Candi first. So, Candi, I just talked about the stress level this game gave me. What went wrong?
I mean, I think that, all season long we've been talking about the measuring stick game. What was going to be the measuring stick game? And they got to the measuring stick game. Mm-hmm. That's what happened, right? You already were facing an Eagles team that has been in this spot, right? Made it to the mountaintop Super Bowl just a couple years ago and lost. So they understand the pain of defeat when you get to this level, especially. But in round 2 of their game against the Eagles, they came away with the win. But what did we see? We saw that certain things did matter, like Jayden Hurts not being in the game. It did matter. We also saw, yet again, turnovers. Now, the Commanders had 5 in round 2. They had 5, but they didn't have Jalen Hurts for the majority of the game. So now you got to eat that, right? You're going to have these 3 turnovers. You're going to have to pay for every single last one of those turnovers, and the Eagles score points, which they didn't necessarily do in round 2. So we also saw an Eagles defense that in the second half of that game in round 2, undisciplined. Undisciplined. And Bobby Wagner told us all on Thursday, the most disciplined team will win this football game, in my opinion. The Commanders were not at all as disciplined as we've seen them all season long. So I think we saw a repeat of what the Eagles have done to the Commanders, at least in round 2. Jalen Hurts was back, and the Commanders were not as disciplined. They really weren't on both sides of the ball. So it just came back to bite them at the worst possible moment.
Hey, Donna, you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, when you turn over the ball 4 times and it turns into 28 points, you can't win that way. This is the NFC Championship game. You cannot afford to make any mistakes. Ask Detroit the week before when they made the mistakes, and the Commanders capitalized on that and just demolished them in that game. And so it was the turnaround of a different tale of a game when the Commanders played the Philadelphia Eagles. And, when I look at that game, this team did not play well at all on all fronts because they didn't run the ball. They had to get into a passing game. It was one player in particular, Jayden Daniels, I thought that played pretty good overall. I mean, the turnover towards the end, but he really tried to rally that team on his back. But when you create that many turnovers, it's hard to turn the ship in the right direction. And like Candi said, this was not the time to play ugly ball as they did, because the defensive line could not stop Saquon Barkley. And we knew going into that game, they didn't stop him for the most part in the other games. But when you constantly has him busting a 60-yarder to start the game, you already just shot yourself in the foot, and you're behind the 8 ball. So it was so many mistakes made in that game. For a championship game, that's the disappointing. And to put up 55 points, that's a bad taste in your mouth for a long time. And the players are upset about that. It's something as that scars that will be carried on, that, this is what you have to work towards in bettering the next year in a championship. And like Candi said, the Philadelphia Eagles have been there before, been to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl, and had a lot of some of these same players on that squad. So there was some experience there. But for the Commanders to play so well, they have protected the ball. That was one key thing that they did all year long, was protect the ball. Not so much against Philadelphia with those 5 turnovers the second time around, but still they rallied to win that game. But for the most part, all season, they had protected the ball. And this was one time when it was most crucial that would have sent you into the Super Bowl. They did not protect the ball.
Hey, Dujunnea, for you, what went wrong?
It was the attention to detail. And I think we saw that right out of the gate with the 60-yard run. You had 2 bad tackles that really led to him spinning out, looking like a Madden character, spinning out of those tackles and going for 60 yards. And it just seemed to mount from there. And then you add the turnovers into that, it just steamrolled out of control. That's hard to recover from. And I think the Commanders play so much better when they are able to put pressure on the opposing team's offense. And I think we saw that in a lot of games. When you look at the Detroit Lions game, they were able to kind of keep within the realm, and then they get up a score or 2 scores on you. And then it seems like offensive coordinators panic because they see them holding the ball, putting together 6-7 minute drives, and they're like, oh, we might run out of time. And now they have to abandon the run. And it was the flip side on this one where, Philly was able to get out early, and they just really could never get that lead to start putting pressure on them. And it all comes down to just paying attention to details, because with that football team, they were going to have to do everything to the T, to the best of their ability, to have an opportunity to have a chance to win that ball game.
And something Paul said, he said, bottom line, we got beat by a better, more experienced team. So my issue was to what Donna was talking about, referring to, was just like, when you're playing a good team, at the end of the day, your job is to try to play as clean football as you can. Like, if the team beats you, they beat you. That's fine. That's what happens. That's what's supposed to happen in football. The better team wins. But when you give the team an easy out, then that's the problem, especially in the NFC Championship game. You can have that in the regular season. You can play like that in the regular season. You can even play that in the wild card round, to be honest with you. But in the championship game, which this is supposed to be 2 of the best, is opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. You want to lose knowing that, you know what, we didn't hurt ourselves. Like, if we're going to lose, they just going to flat out beat us. Like, Saquon Barkley is a phenomenal player. So him ripping that 60-yard run, breaking tackles, yes, would I have liked those tackles to be better? Yes, I definitely agree with Dujunnea. Like, I would hope they tackle Saquon Barkley. They had him right. But when you're talking about like losing the football on some of those plays, where to me it was careless football, to be honest with you, to a certain extent. Like, you're not really protecting the football. The play about Diami getting punched, like, yeah, that was a good defensive play, but you gotta, at that particular point in time, you're in the crowd, you gotta, the ball is life. You gotta cradle that thing in. Austin Eckler. Well, now I'll go even before that. McNichols fumbling that ball, where to me that was the least amount of contact for you not to be that loose with the football in that situation, knowing that you're trying to give Jayden the opportunity to score before the half, and you fumble it right there and giving the Eagles more momentum to score. Yeah. All right, then you gain a little bit of momentum. You get the field goal at the end. You got a little bit of momentum, and you have opportunity to score again to cut this lead to a 1-score game, and then Austin Eckler fumbles. So anytime you decide to mount some type of comeback or mount some momentum to put pressure on Philadelphia, you gave them a short field. Now, like, and that was my thing. It's okay. Like, it's okay to lose to a team like the Eagles. I'm not knocking that. Like, the Eagles are one of the better. Look at the record. They're one of the better teams in football. It is what it is. But when you give them an easy out, That is the problem. You're giving them an easy out. And that was what I wasn't a fan of. I wasn't a fan of the Commanders giving them an easy out, because at the end of the day, like, we knew Saquon to Saquon. And I didn't even like how they played Saquon. Like Saquon Barkley is the MVP of, like, arguably the MVP of the league. Arguably. You can say whoever, but arguably he's in contention. I would rather.
Hey, Wally, you can't play slip and slide with trying to tackle him, because that's what they were doing, slip and slide.
I agree.
You got to wrap around. But the Eagles, you going back to what you said, the Eagles haven't lost a game since October when the Commanders beat them. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at Philadelphia, they hadn't played well in their last 2 games coming into that championship game. Hurts gets hurt. Yeah. Before that, concussion thing. But the thing about it is they healed up enough to go. Candi and I was watching up in the press box, wondering if their center was going to play. So they had question marks going into the game too. But when they stepped on that field, they did not let up the gas after that touchdown. And like you said earlier, that when Washington did try to get back into the game, then they had turnovers that set them back every time that they were close to turning this around and getting back in the game. It was a turnover. And then the Philadelphia Eagles scored with the turnover each time that Washington. So when you shoot yourself in the foot like that, you're never able to get back on solid grounds to move forward.
No, I agree. I totally agree. I just felt like they needed to, like, just make a mistake. Because, again, I'm cool with getting beat. Like, if you're the better team, it's the better team.
Not like that, Wally.
I don't like 55. Hey, Donna, I'm trying to be nice, Donna.
No, everybody's trying to get beat here. Everybody's trying to get beat by 55 points. If you're going to get beat, at least be in the game at the end where it's going to be decided by a field goal or a touchdown, but not to be in a championship game getting beat by 55 up on the board.
And I mean, it's not like let's be for real. It's not like the Eagles did anything that was unusual.
Exactly.
Because in round 2, they got a pass breakup to turn into a fumble on Diami in that game. Right? There was a pass breakup in the Detroit Lions game. So you can study enough film and understand how he carries the football in order to get the ball. You can understand that. It's happened at a time or two, maybe with Austin Eckler, maybe it didn't have that much of an impact though. So that has happened. And I mean, at this point, one of the things, and I've asked Coach Quinn this, what are some of the things that don't come up on the stat sheet for these? They're very physical. They are very, very physical defense. Like they say, the ball is life. They get that too, and they want the ball back. Saquon Barkley going to be Saquon Barkley. When people kept asking me, what do they need to do to stop Saquon Barkley? Nothing. Keep him off the football field, and that's about it. Because when he get out there, they can't stop. I mean, they can't. I mean, they did a good job of it in round 1. I think they really did. For 53 minutes, the Commanders defense held as best as they could, right? Until they couldn't. And that's just is what it is because of the type of player that he is. But it wasn't like everyone is saying here, the Commanders gave them the assist. They gave them the assist. It wasn't like they ran. They didn't just like, wow. They just do what they do very well. And that is the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, now I do see maybe there was a real difference in Jalen Hurts going out of that game in round 2, right? Because now he's able to extend these plays, which they weren't able to do as much of with Kenny Pickett. But Kenny Pickett still scored 33 points? 33 points. Still scored 33 points totally. So it wasn't like they did anything out of the ordinary. They were tougher, and they are the better team, and they're the more experienced team. I think that the Commanders were shocked by just how many mistakes they made in the NFC Championship game after playing so efficiently, so effectively, in such clean football. Today at the NFC Championship, or I guess now Sunday. Yeah. This is how this goes down.
And I was really surprised.
Philly was bullied.
They were, and I was surprised that they didn't pull them back.
Yeah. They was bullies, and then they came out even fighting. They won that heavyweight boxing fight because they was knocking them all the way around from the line of scrimmage and so forth. It was almost like the Commanders couldn't come up for air.
Right.
Yeah, they wasn't going. I mean, they were out for blood. I think I said that on the show with you. They were out for blood after the way that they lost round 2 in Northwest Stadium. Everybody running around flapping their wings like a bird. What? No.
And Philly remember that because they were talking trash.
You gonna close this out on a touchdown to Jamison Crowder? How dare you embarrass us this way? They were out for blood, point blank, period. They were gonna get them, and they got them.
You know what I found interesting is that with Dickens, the first center they had out there, I was surprised when he started showing signs that he was kind of feeling a little bit of an injury, that they didn't try to attack Jaylen right up the middle, because we all know when you put pressure on Jalen Hurts, he doesn't seem to do well in the passing game when pressure's coming at him in his face. And I thought that they would try to kind of take advantage of that little domino right there, that little bit of a weakness that could possibly be, and kind of test that a little bit with a little bit of a blitzing and make him choose, because he was clearly not as stable as he was earlier after he had suffered a little bit of an injury there and wasn't able to come back. So that was kind of shocking to me as well.
Yeah, I was like, Jalen Hurts is not running like he's hurt. I mean, I think I said that one time in the press room, like, I thought he was hurt. I thought something was wrong with his knee. No, doesn't look like it. But it was because of that pressure, right? It was there, but it just wasn't consistently there to get them off the football field.
Yeah, I think
to get him down, Candi, or to get him down because the pressure was not, what Jayden over on the other side was dealing with. Because my thing is, until you get to the quarterback, I know Frankie got him one time or so, but it wasn't enough for in a championship game. You've got to have relentless pressure to get to the quarterback, to get him down so that he can't have the open windows to hit A.J. Brown and Smith and all of those guys. So to me, it was just not the best defensive performance out there, but it still comes down, if you take everything away, it still comes down to those turnovers no matter what, because those points end up putting a lot on the board, and that was hard to recover no matter what. So they were playing catch up all the time. So, Philadelphia did what they had to do. As Candi said, they made the Commanders bleed blood.
They did. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the game plan defensively, because I get agitated, because I'm not the biggest Jalen Hurts fan. I won't lie to y'all. I'm just not. And I just felt like you play back in initially they play back in zone. And I'm like, you're giving him a rhythm. If anything, you got a guy who's a wounded dog, and you're giving him a rhythm, giving him confidence. And you already got Saquon already. That's already an issue right there. You got Saquon, and now you're giving this dude, you're playing back and trying to have him play zone. It's where you got space with those two receivers. I was like, you just asking for him to get into a rhythm. And then eventually you got into a little rhythm. And then when you blitzed him, you got him off his rocker to a point where he got a little erratic. But then you got some PIs off of that too. They got some PIs off of that too. So it's just once you get somebody in a rhythm, it gets kind of too late to kind of knock them out of it, regardless if you blitzing or not. So I was like, it worked when you blitzed them, because you got out on third down. You got out off the field on third down at times when you did blitz. But then you got some PIs too at the same time down the road with Marshawn. But I just felt like, you know what, sometimes you're in this game, if anything, I'm trying to take away, I'm trying my best and my hardest to take away Saquon. That's who I'm worried about, number one. Everybody else, I get it. Like, you lose to Jalen, you lose to AJ, you lose to Devontae, you tip your hat off. You can't take away everything. But I can't let, like, the first play scoring 60 yards off that run, I was like, good God. You knew who was getting the ball. Like, that's the first play. You knew who was getting the ball first play of the game.
Hey, Wally, it's like basketball. Like,
yeah, exactly, Donna. That's what I'm thinking.
Steph Curry. We're going to take Steph out the game, and everybody else has to beat us.
Exactly.
So pretty much Saquon, you're going to give him, because guess what? He's going to get his. He's going to eat. But if you can take the food off of everybody else's plate, then you're going to have a better chance to win. But you didn't take the food off of anybody's plate, because everybody was eating from the Eagles side.
That's my point.
But I mean,
that's my point.
But did y'all really think that? I mean, I'm just being honest. Did you all really think that was going to happen? I mean, listen. Well, clearly inside the building they did. Clearly inside the building. But I try to remain objective and realistic.
I'm gonna be honest. No.
Right? Like I'm just like, all right, let's be real. And I know that I think it was on the show with you, Wally, where I was saying certain things like that. Everybody kept talking about stop and Saquon, like they can't do it.
I know that.
They can not with what they have right now. We saw them try. They gave them all they had, 53 minutes, round one. It was Thursday night football. We were there, we saw it, and that was the best that they could give them. But if they're not creating havoc at the scrimmage line, they done. It's just
that was without the wrong thing too.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that was my and I agree with you, Candi. I totally agree. Like Saquon's a different animal. He's a beast. Like, but the thing about it's like you playing coverage when you should be playing the run. Like there's time they're playing coverage. I'm not even playing. I'm being real with you. I'm not worried about coverage. Like I got Saquon Barkley. I'm not worried about coverage. Like Jalen Hurts, you need to be Pat Mahomes today. Like you need to be Josh Allen. You need to be one of them. Like to beat me. Like I like if Saquon beats an 8-man, 9-man front, then he just like all right, that's Saquon doing Saquon. Then there's nothing that you could do in this whole game.
I'm crowning
but he wasn't even getting he not getting 8-9-man fronts at times. Like dude should be getting 8-man, 9-man fronts.
But Wally, he didn't even play a lot because he had a calf injury in the second half, and they were still doing their damage.
I know he didn't have to. That's why I was just like, you guys, this has been a long season.
Yeah, and I'm with you though. I'm with you. Like sometimes
you didn't have to go down like that.
Yeah,
and I didn't have to go down like that. And that was turnovers was what happened there. Yeah. And I think just that physicality and that bully ball, like you are saying. But I think that the measuring stick. Now you know where you stand.
Definitely.
Now you know where you're at with this thing. What you're gonna do to fix it going forward. That now they know exactly where they are. When it comes to, because this is one of the best teams in the NFC. You're going to have to beat them twice a year, potentially, as we just saw, potentially 3 times a year.
Yeah.
If you want to go to the Super Bowl.
And if you want to win the division, it's got to go through Philadelphia.
Yeah, the division goes through Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And depending on who you ask, the NFC may go through them. So, because, out of the last couple years, that's who's been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that is your measuring stick. You got to craft a team that can beat Philadelphia convincingly, like they
Get your ruler out and measure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And some of these teams, when you really think about, the impact player for the Commanders, in my opinion, is Jayden, right? But it's like who else?
Mm-hmm.
Who else?
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to get you when you really look at the last 4 teams standing, right? You got a couple of who else's.
Right. Yeah.
And then you look at the quarter, and then you look at this, the final teams in the playoffs, solid quarterback play.
Yeah.
When all of them, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jayden, Hurts, 4 solid quarterbacks. So if you don't have a solid quarterback, you ain't gonna go nowhere. So at least the Commanders got that right.
Yeah, they got that down.
That right.
So that's something they can build forward.
Right. Yeah. They had an incredible season, but if you want to box, like for real, through January, you got to beat the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, they got. Yeah, I'm with you. They gotta. They gotta limit that 55.
They're mean. They are bullies. Hey, you could be nice guy to us all day long, but when you get out on that football field, you need to be on demon time because they are.
AJ Brown was bullying.
They are.
But you know what? But you know what Philadelphia has that makes them even solid? It starts with the defensive line and the offensive line. That's where it starts at. When you look at teams as far as that's in the mix of everything, you can build the other pieces around. So they got Jayden, and the offensive line surpassed, what I thought they would be this year. But you still have to build that offensive and defensive line to be strong. That's where it's got to start at. Yeah. Because if you get that right, ask Philadelphia, their defensive line. Look what they did.
Their defensive line is crazy.
Their defensive line is better because everybody's looking at Kansas City saying offense. But now it's defense for Kansas City now, and even with Buffalo and all those teams that we're talking about, their line play on both sides is solid.
Yeah, I mean, you got to beat you got to win at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And that's what the defense, they didn't do it. Okay, you already know who's back there. You already know what Saquon is back there. If you win at the line of scrimmage, Jalen Hurts doesn't get the ball off. If he gets the ball off, you're in trouble. Either way, because I know Wole, you may not like him as much as I do, but hey, the team he's leading has been to the Super Bowl now 2 out of the last 3 years. It's just a fact, right? You know what I'm saying? It's a fact. So with that, but what does he have around that line of scrimmage margin? And winning that line of scrimmage is critical, especially at this time of year. Now, the Commanders have been dealing with a lot of issues, injuries on O-line. You had Deron Payne was out on Sunday, but someone just straight up asked me, do I think that was the reason why things happened the way they did? And I said, no, that's not.
No. Yeah, I agree with you on that. That had nothing to do with it. They got manhandled up front. And, I listen to people talk about the tush push and complaining about it, but really it all starts with the offensive line. Go look at Buffalo. They tried that nonsense and they got stuffed several times. Was the reason why it cost them the game. It's because they have big guys up front that can push you. I mean, you see the blast they get off the line. The offensive line is getting 2 yards on their own before the running back takes off, before Jaylen takes off. So I don't think it has anything to do, all this talk about the tush push. It starts up front. And if you got horses and got hogs up front, you can do anything you want to do because you can manhandle the team, the opposing team's defensive line, especially if they're bullies.
Before we go to the next topic, Candi, I know you got to go. Before I let you go, man, let folks know they can catch you on social media.
She ain't going nowhere.
I have to go to.
She's busy. I got you. I told you I got you. I got you.
Like, this has been the crazy
time out. I'm right.
Look. I've been putting time out all season long. It's okay.
All year long.
It's okay. And I did say on Sunday, I said, well, as long as they smiling, I'm a smile. But as soon as they wasn't smiling, I said, Jayden can't save them now. That's literally what I said. I said,
hey, Wally, Candi became the halftime show.
I know what? I saw the video on social media. I saw it. We doing crisscross? That's the joint now.
It was good. You had to do something. You
crisscross. We doing crisscross.
Okay. It's getting bad. Okay. So, but you all can follow me on X at CWall SC and make sure you're subscribed to Bowie TV. And you can find me, Candi Waller, on all platforms.
See, Wally, that's what I say, Candi. Just say you know where to find me.
No, because Donna, you be having the wrong. You be saying the wrong name.
That's why I got you. That's why I got you.
Yeah, I know why you got me. Sometimes I'll be like, no, Donna, that is not your IG or whatever. That is not it.
Love what you're doing, CWall.
All right, yeah.
We can't remember everything, right?
I see, Candi. See. All right, but yeah, I agree with that. I think the Eagles were the better team. Obviously, like their defensive line, that's something I do want Washington to kind of incorporate, and Donna, the offensive line too. I think, like you said, it's in the trenches. I think that's what Donna is. One thing I do like. One of many things I like about your assessment about this team. You've always said this. Like this team, when this team takes it to the next level, or when they are a Super Bowl winning team, they got to get it in the trenches. You've always said that. It's got to be offensive line, defensive line. You've always stated that, and I think it was evident when you watch the Eagles. The Eagles don't just have an awesome defensive line. They have an awesome offensive line. They have one of the best offensive lines in football, and we just saw they had one of the best defensive lines in football. And I think it's for Washington.
Mean players up front too. They got mean
players, exactly.
Physical players that will put you on your heels because, like we were talking about earlier, when you get down in the trenches and everything, and you have to have the leverage. And to me, they had the leverage. What Washington struggled with this year is their gap control in some of the games, as far as Coach Witt talked about gap control, making sure that you're true to your assignments. Because when you're trying to help out the other player, then you're out of position right there yourself. So to me, I'm not understanding totally why teams are so successful running right up the middle, and it comes back to that gap control and staying true to your position. And I think that the Commanders have some of the pieces put, but you got to get an edge rusher because Dante Fowler Jr. played solid ball, 10.5 sacks this year. I got to give him a shout out because he really was the leading pass rusher, but I don't think the Commanders have totally recovered from the Montez Sweat, Chase Young, where you had pass rusher. Not that worked out totally, I think Montez Sweat was a true pass rusher. But to me, you got to get a guy in there that can get to the quarterback. Dante was there. Frankie Louvu had 8 sacks. But you still need a solid edge rusher. Armstrong, I think Durance Armstrong played well,
I thought he played well
this year, but I still think that you need that aggressive pass rusher. Dante was that, for the year, but you got to get another person. And offense at lineman, I told you, Wally, at the beginning.
I know. You said it off the rip.
I need 3, and I think the offensive line really played well. I got to take my hats off because Biotish in the middle. He was the anchor because he called plays. When he was out, you saw the difference. So I think that they have some important pieces, but you can't have enough offensive and defensive linemen on your team. You just can't, because they play well, but they got to get meaner and they got to get some physical big guys, like you said, up front, big physical guys that ain't nobody gonna get around them.
I agree. Dujunnea.
Yeah, they definitely. I'm with everybody else. Edge rusher is a big deal for me.
Yeah.
And you gotta get some mean guys as D tackles. They gotta be relentless, pushing the pocket back into the quarterback's face. You look at Kansas City and you look at what they do in the middle there. They are a menace with quarterbacks, and they push the pocket and they get you. They push it back into your quarterback's face and make him make a decision. Sometimes he doesn't have time to make a decision because the edge rushers are collapsing in. So, and I think that'll improve the back end as well. And I agree with the comment earlier about Marshawn. Got to keep your cool. But at the end of the day, he was the guy whose helmet was pushed off first, and it just seemed to got glossed over. But you got to be able to keep your cool in those situations as well. And I agree with you. Offensive line played well above what we thought they would do. And really, it's a matter of getting a little bit bigger. And as you notice with Philly, they have depth also. And that is so important in a league where guys aren't going to be healthy for 17 weeks, and if you make the playoffs, they're not going to be healthy all the time. And so if a guy goes down, you have to have another guy that can come in, fill in, and be just as much of a bully as the guy that left out of there. So, in that regard, it's just if they can improve those areas, they've got everything else, pretty much shored up. And I like to see another number. I don't care if it's a number 1 guy, another guy who is just as good as Terry, that can help out a little bit and kind of take the pressure off of him and allow for Ertz and, Ben Sinnott, if he gets his opportunity, to be able to, Luke McCaffrey get those little slants and inside routes a little bit easier because they can't double up on anybody.
Running game got to be better too.
Yeah, that's
amen. Yes,
I think for me, I know everybody wants to just jump on the offense in terms of the only thing I want, and I ain't gonna lie, from what I visioned, what I saw, and just compared on the other side, we look at Jalen Hurts, who gets a lot of time in the pocket. Fix the O-line. All right. I know we're all fixated on receivers. I feel like at the end of the day, you gave up 55 points.
Mm-hmm.
You turn the ball over. You gave up 55 points. And throughout this season, scoring has never been a problem with this Commanders team. Scoring has not been an issue. Mm-hmm. Defense has been the issue. So when I look at this team, I never look at first. I know everybody wants to flash you toy. So I get that. I see a T. Higgins. I love T. Higgins. I want a T. Higgins. I get that. I'm not even arguing against that. I get that.
But I'm not gonna pay you a lot.
Exactly, because I'm not. No. I feel like I shouldn't. And even I think T. Higgins worth the bag. I do think he's worth the bag. But when I look at this team, I look at from the consistent theme. This team has not been good, solid on defense, for real. They've masked some things, but they haven't been good. They're one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. Yeah. We talked about edge rusher. You don't have a dynamic edge rusher. There's times where the edge rushers go ghost. You don't see them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So they're now manufacturing everything. Secondary isn't the best secondary in the world. So when I look at this team, when the first thing that comes to mind for me is put your money on the defense. The money that you got to put on is on the defense, because at the end of the day, we don't need to put it on Jayden and say Jayden score 30 every day.
Right. Yeah.
And he has to score 30 every game. And that's not, and to be told, the offense pretty much scored almost 30, almost to a point they were scoring 30 a lot this season. So that's not, to me, when I look at the offense, it's not an offensive issue. It's more of a defensive issue. This team is a defensive issue. They didn't lose to Philadelphia because their offense was terrible. They lost to Philadelphia because they turned the football over, right? They moved the football. It's not like they didn't move the football. They moved the football. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. That is the issue. Like when I go into the offseason, you gotta examine, we aren't good. We're not tough enough defensively. We got.
I'm sure they're looking at that because, like you said, the offense averaged about 28 points per game, and running. And the defense gave up about 137 points rushing per game, and they ranked down in quite the bottom as far as stopping the run. I mean, I thought that, considering that, I think they need another cornerback too, even if they bring Marshawn Lynch back. And to be fair with him, he came into the middle of the season with a hamstring injury, so he was hurt coming here. Right. So it was going to take some time for him to get up to speed. And even in the championship game, I think that he still probably wasn't up to full speed as far as a whole season playing with the team and so forth. So I like to see them bring him back and see what he looks like. But even if they bring him back and with Mikey Sanders still, who played outstanding this year, and I know that, they moved him from the inside to the outside. So I thought, being a rookie, that he played quite well. But even with that being said, I still think they need another corner. You can't have enough of that. I thought the safety play was solid this year because Quan Martin and Jeremy Chin, after those probably first 3 or 4 games after he got his foot wet, I thought that he played quite well. Percy Butler doesn't even get in because of just that depth there, and also Forrest, because those two guys played solid. I thought the linebackers play was good too, but the front of the defense, I thought, like we all been saying, that it has to get better, because how goes that secondary is how goes the pressure up front defensively. And so I think that that's where you start in this draft, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, because I think if you get those two areas solid, you can plug in other players. The Commanders proved with Olamide Zaccheaus and De'Ami Brown and even Crowder, when he came back from that hamstring injury, that they played quite well. And I'm not mentioning Terry because Terry had an all-pro year. He stepped it up. You know why Terry was better this year? Because of Jayden Daniels, a quarterback that could get him the ball. And Terry worked on his craft too. He'll say that. Terry will tell you over and over that he worked at getting better as far as catch and run and all of that. And those guys, to me, with a quarterback like Jayden Daniels, he got the ball to them. He spreaded the ball out. And Zach Ertz talking about he wish he was 22 with a quarterback of Jayden Daniels' caliber, and he really wants to come back. And he stepped it up because he had over 600 and some yards this year. So to me, if they can bring him back, even being an older player, and I don't consider 34 older, but NFL and all that. But to me, as long as you can play and contribute and all that, I don't care. And I think that you need veteran leadership on this team like those guys, because they did have a young squad. And for a young squad to be able to do what they did, hats off to this a player personnel, Adam Peters, Coach Quinn, all the coaches they brought along, because you could tell that with this group of guys, coaching staff and all of them in place, that helps this team to be what they were this year.
Agreed.
I do want to ask you this question, since you mentioned it. You mentioned safety. Do you? Because I do like, it's crazy because I do like both safeties, but I do think they need something at safety. They need a guy like that ball hawk safety. Like, I do think they need a ball hawk safety, but I do like both dudes. So that's the thing that's the issue I have.
Need too many people right now, and safety is not one of those ones.
I like them both, but I'm like, they need that one safety that can just like,
but you can live with what they got right now, because you need to be other areas, Wally. Okay. You can't. I mean, your cornerback. Would you take a safety over a corner?
Nah, I take a corner, but I would draft a corner though. I take a corner though. I draft a corner.
And see, here's my thing with that. So if you build the interior the way you need to, I think they have solid linebackers. I think you bring back Bobby Wagner. They have solid linebackers. You build that front line, and your front seven is now aggressive. They're attacking. They're disruptive. I don't need to have the best guys on the back end. I mean, how many times before this last couple of years, how many times have we watched the Dallas Cowboys with average guys at corner?
I'm glad you said that.
Play and have, because that front seven was so disruptive. They had garbage at safety. They really had no corners, but they made those guys look good because the front seven was getting after it. They were so disruptive up front. There was nothing you could do. They didn't have enough time to make those plays, those deep balls down the field, because it wasn't 7 seconds. They had 3 or 4 seconds and get the ball out, or you're sacked, or there's going to be a sack fumble. And I think if you improve those areas, that area right there, your back end can be whatever it needs to be. You don't need stars. You need guys that are just going to be where they're supposed to be and do their job. Don't play hero ball. And you're going to have a much improved secondary, because they're not having to cover for 7 seconds back there.
I hate to put this. I hate to put Dallas' name in my mouth.
Of course.
But their but since you were talking about their defense, their offensive line was so strong over the years too. Maybe not as late, but with all the injuries they had. But I mean, they had some mean big guys up front on their offensive line that did a good job. And let's talk about the Detroit Lions. Had they not had all those injuries on the defensive line and everything, they were solid also as a defense. When you talk about all the teams, like I said, in the playoffs and now in the Super Bowl, both of those teams, Kansas City and Philadelphia, good defensive line play across the board. But like I said, wash my mouth for putting that name in my mouth.
I can't believe you said that, Donna. I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised.
In the mouth, Wally.
I'm so surprised.
But I'm giving credit to be credit. Look, I try to be true and tell the truth.
Sometimes you can't give people too much credit, though, Donna.
I tell the truth, Wally.
Yeah. Sometimes you can, sometimes you got to omit the truth when it comes to the Cowboys. I'm just saying. Sometimes you have to. Just saying. All right, so Dom, I asked you this question. Joey gave Eagles bulletin board material talking about if Jayden runs, they going to punish him and hit him like a running back. Do you agree with that? Do you think he gave him bulletin board material?
No, I mean because he was stating fact. To me, it wasn't something that he just kind of like rolled out of his mouth. That was true fact. As if he's running and whatever, guess what? He's a runner, and therefore we're trying to take him down. So I don't think that they gave him anything. They always talk about fuel on the fire. Don't rally a team up. Well, Philadelphia was talking trash all week long, talking about this won't be the case this time around, and we're going to do this and that to you. Dexter Manley used to do it all the time when they played, and Coach Gibbs hated for him to do that when they were playing Dallas. But to me, if you can talk stuff and talk about what you're going to do, but you got to be able to back it up. But what he said was true. It was just the fact that if he is going to become a runner, then guess what? They're going to treat him as a runner.
No, I agree. I felt like they didn't treat him as a runner. That's a problem.
They didn't have to treat him as a runner because he wasn't trying to run that much because Saquon Barkley was doing all the
I know, but I'm saying even when he was out there pocket.
Gardner was supposed to be hurt. I couldn't tell because he was open in the middle of the field catching balls all the time.
I know. That too. I just felt like I would have smacked him I would have smacked Hurts a couple of times and tried to make him feel me.
And you had to get to him first.
I'll be real with you, Donna. I'll be real with you because I don't be at the games. So I don't be at in the locker room. And Joe Witt seems like a really good guy, like an awesome dude. Like he has so much bravado. Look, I'm just gonna say this and be real with you. That energy that I did like in the locker room and the energy I saw in that presser, I ain't see the same energy in terms of his game calling because I wanted him to smack. I ain't gonna lie to you. I wanted some Greg Williams type of stuff. That's what I really wanted. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's what I wanted. But
Greg Williams had kind of like the personnel. I think that's what people got to realize is in order to do what you're asking them to do, you have to have the personnel to do that. And if you don't have the guys that can get to the quarterback or be that aggressive and be, then you can't do what some of the things that you want to do. So I say, give him time to see how they draft and how they bring in other people, because I think it's some missing pieces still. And that aggressive play that we're talking about, you'll see it if you have the right kind of players there, and not taken away from any of the players on this team and all that, because I think that, to win like they did and get to the NFC Championship game, somebody on both sides of the ball had to be doing something. I mean, the defense did play good in stretches throughout this year in games, but as they were telling you, you got to do it 60 minutes, because if you don't do it for 60 minutes, and thank God for Jayden and that offense, because they kept them in many of the games that they won. And before we were talking about the defense holding the offense together, but this year for the Commanders, it was the offense that was the strength of this team.
I agree. And before I get to Dujunnea, I will say this about Greg. I love Greg. I'm such a pro Greg person, so everybody knows. Anybody in the chat.
Hey, I like Greg too. Greg
I love Greg Williams a lot. But I will say this: the year before Greg got here, we were at the last defense in the league. He came in and just changed it up. We really didn't make right. No one knew who Ryan Clark was. He pushed Ryan Clark into safety. No one. Antonio Pierce was just a special teams dude. And
then he was the linebacker.
Yeah, I'm just saying. We didn't. With everybody didn't think we had talent either with Greg, and he did draft Deshaun.
Hey Wally, why are you going way back to Greg?
I know. I'm just
Where
saying.
is Greg Williams now, Wally? Where is Greg Williams?
He's chilling. I want to know where he's at. I want him back. I
think that you got to get. I think that this team overpassed what we thought that they were going to do. I mean, they overachieved mounds from what we thought. And imagine with Coach Witt and Kingsbury. So glad that Kingsbury ain't going to New England.
So talk about that, Donna. Talk about that real quick.
New Orleans. Thank God he's not going there. All the jobs were taken up except that one.
I know. I was so happy.
I think it was important for him to stay here even another year to help Jayden to his development even more so. But again, I'm looking forward to see this team in their second year being able to plug in some other key players that they want to plug in. And let's have that conversation again, because I think that when you look across the board of what this team overall was able to do, lights out. I mean, I can't even say a lot bad about this team at all. And I won't even dare do that because it was too much good that I can talk about. But still, being honest, is some areas that they have to get better in to move forward so that they don't have any steps going backwards. And that's the key thing that you don't want, is to go backwards in your second year.
Dujunnea, first off, let me ask you this: just thoughts of Coach Cliff Kingsbury remaining here in the DC and how is that helping? How is that a great thing for Jayden Daniels?
Look, I'm just gonna say I told y'all so. I've been saying that since mid-season when this was talk.
But I will say to Dujunnea, I'll say this though: God is good, because all them jobs got cleaned up before he can really. Because that same job ain't a good job. So he ain't dumb.
They got no money. They ain't got no salary cap.
None. They're
32nd. Go ahead, Dujunnea.
They are 32nd. I didn't think he was going to go anywhere because he's still getting paid by the Cardinals. And to me, if I'm Cliff, I'm with a guy in Dan Quinn who now in his second stint has that next step in his coaching and understands things a little bit better because he's seen a few more things. Why wouldn't I want to stay with the guy as long as I could, so that the next time I go around, I can be just like Dan Quinn and hit the ground running, and not have the things that happened to me earlier happen this time. So, he's still getting paid by the Cardinals. He doesn't have to rush anywhere. And I think that's important for Jayden, because you see quarterbacks and you look at Dak. Dak now is going to have his third or fourth offensive coordinator. And for a young guy like Jayden, you want him to kind of get into a rhythm with one guy and build from that. He had a great year this year. Some would say one of the best as a rookie. And you want him to be able to build off of that. And that kind of prevents him from having that sophomore slump. I don't think that's something that we'll have to worry about. His work ethic is too great anyway. But having Cliff here is going to, amplify that and really accelerate his growth because, we know how hard he works, on and off the field on his craft. And I think combined with his work ethic and this extra year, or hopefully maybe even one more year with Cliff, it's going to be really, really fun to watch. And it's going to be excellent for him as a quarterback to, as he progresses in his career.
Donna, you've seen it.
It's so funny that he says that because Jason Campbell, I talked to him this year, and he had like 4 or 5 offensive coordinators, so he never did get on a page where he could move forward. So you're correct as far as development and having that guy here for at least a couple of years or 3 or so before you go, because you could see Jayden's growth this year. And Kingsbury said that he's never seen a quarterback like a Jayden Daniels, but even more so to what you said of being under Dan Quinn. And Coach Kingsbury talked about that this year, that the fact of what he's learning from him and what he wants to take with his in a new coaching job. If, as far as a head coaching job, he gets that opportunity, because he said what he has learned from Coach Quinn, as far as what Coach Quinn set out in the beginning, as far as get the brotherhood together quickly. He gave the players that. And then not only that, he set the tone from day one of what he wanted this team to be like, look like, and operate under. And Kingsbury said that's something that he did not put in place when he was out in Arizona, that he was going through the season trying to guess the identity of the team and so forth. But Coach Quinn put that out there early. Anybody, anywhere, anytime, and in some of the other slogans that they had out at the wall, out there at Commanders and throughout the buildings and so forth. He set the foundation from day one of what this team was going to look like, he wanted to look like, and he built from there as far as that process. And Kingsbury said that that's what he would take with him the second time around, of what he's learning from Coach Quinn. And you go back to Coach Quinn, what he learned from the first time around when he was with Atlanta, that he's doing differently this time around, and you see what that result is in his first year.
I agree with this, Deluxe. They say an offense doesn't hit its stride, hit its peak with a young QB until year 3. Pat Mahomes said he didn't read defenses his first couple of years. He didn't know how to read defenses, so that lets you know. And he was winning off the rip, so that lets you know. To your point, Deluxe, year 3 is where it pretty much clicks for the quarterback and the offense. He says the key is having a succession plan, which it seems they do. Yeah, I do. I think they do have a succession plan just in case. So
they do, because guess what? The people that they have in place on this coaching staff, it wasn't by accident that if Kingsbury was going to be gone, Johnson was going to step in probably there. And then you got an Anthony Lynn that was a head coach also. On the defensive side of the ball, you got people in place that if Joe Witt was to leave to go there, you got the next guy. So Coach Quinn was smart as far as how he built this team with his coaching staff, that he had people that could step into it from that point if any of his coordinators was to go, and be that next guy without having to go out of house and look for him.
And Joe Wade ain't going nowhere. He's gonna stay here. He good. He's still young in the game. He ain't ready yet. He ain't seasoned yet. But I do think next year, just like we give Jayden his flowers in terms as a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback, he's a rookie DC. So it's just like, this is year 1. So I know I'll give him a hard time, but I do think that he'll get better next season. Like, I do believe that. And I do think that, there's certain, to your point, Donna, hopefully they give him the talent that he can do what he wants to do. Because there are levels to me in defensive coordinators. There are levels. There's certain guys that you can give them players and they can really make them play over and above their level. There are certain coaches that are like that. And there are certain coaches who are good DCs, but they need a particular talent set. They need a particular skilled player. Like, you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. I do think Joe Witt needs certain players to play his system. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with that. Because just like Dujunnea said earlier, Dan Quinn, when he went to Dallas defense the prior year wasn't that great of a defense, but he brought they got some pieces, and he made those players play better football. You know what I mean? Some of the guys who underachieved, he instilled he instilled confidence, he instilled the structure, the obviously the coverage scheme, especially on the back end, and made them a better secondary and a better team. So I totally agree.
And being fair for Coach Witt, remember Coach Quinn was the defensive coordinator in Dallas.
I do agree.
Head coaching job, but Coach Witt was under him. So this is his first thing as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, exactly. That's being fair.
So therefore, that's the reason why I said let me see that second year window as far as him learning about things that he probably would do differently, you know, in year number 2. What did he learn that he wants to change up as a coach, as a first-time defensive coordinator? Like you said, Kingsbury has already been there as far as head coach, some of the other ones, but this was Coach Witt's first sting as a defensive coordinator. So I like to see, you know, being fair to him is in the second year, you know, even if he didn't get all the players that he wanted to plug in, still, how would he be in his second year as far as what we would see out of him? But I still think the most important thing is you got to get players that can play and execute what you're trying to do. And like I said, they have some of the pieces, but they definitely need to get some more solid ones.
They gotta get their guys. I told you he has to get. He's a defensive coordinator. He has to get his guys, the guys that he really wants and he believes in. But
that's the reason why some of these people weren't on the team.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I ain't put no names out there. That's why I said that. That's why I said that. But see, Donna. All right, so Donna, in terms of, you know, you were there for the team when they were the players were cleaning out their lockers. And obviously that's a depressing time for the players, you know, knowing that their season's over. But did any of them take any pride of what they accomplished this season? Because they did accomplish something really special. No one had this team winning. Some people had this team winning 5-6 games. Like, I'm one of those individuals. Nobody had this team winning 12 games. Nobody had this team
7. And people need to be honest. I didn't have them past 7.
Exactly. No one had them going to the NFC Championship game. Did they own that? Did they recognize what they accomplished?
Oh, most definitely, Wally.
Okay.
That's what you heard in there. And what I heard also is because of what they built here, all these players want to come back because they said that this was a true brotherhood of this team really being on the same page and understanding what it takes to be a winner. I had one player to tell me that he's learned, Derek Forrest, that may not be here, but he said what he's learned on this team is valuable as far as what a culture really looked like, a healthy culture looked like. And then learning what the process, he said, you cannot cheat the process. Man, I even had to eat on that a little bit because you can't cheat the process. And he said what he's learned that you have to work even harder. If you want to be good, if you want to be a winning team, and so forth, you've got to put in the time. You've got to go through the process. It ain't just going to be, handed to you and not just going to drop out the sky, but you've got to put the time in. So I heard the things from the players as far as what they accomplished. De'Ami Brown, got a chance to talk to him. He said, I don't even know if I'm going to be here, but I want to be here. Okay. But he said that what he learned this year helped his game even more so. And he learned what a true brotherhood is, what a team that's built to try to be a championship team and so forth, and all the pieces and everybody working hard for each other. Zach Ertz talked about wanting to be back, and this is the most fun he had in a long time because he had a bad taste in his mouth, from the other places that he had been. And he said that he didn't want to come to an organization just to be coming, but it had to be a right fit. And that's the most important thing, knowing that you have to fit. Just because you may be a star player and whatever, if you don't fit in here, you're not going to be a commander. A lot of people probably want to come here after this year and having a quarterback like Jayden on that side. But all I heard is positive things of what they accomplished in here that maybe even they didn't believe in the beginning. But once they started getting into the mix of the training camps, the OTAs, the game situation, they started believing that we got something special here. And they believed that they could, they were always in the fight. That's a word that they constantly use. And when you think about it, they were always in the fight. So the positive things that I heard out of the locker room, they were disappointed about that loss, and it will sting for a minute. And as Coach Quinn talked about, scars sometimes are good for you because, you want to close that wound back. And I said that you got to want to close the wound back. And I think this team is a team that wants to definitely do that. So what I heard in that locker room when they were departing, some of the players that won't probably be back, they're going to carry some things with them, because one player said that they won't just accept any team to go to, that it's got to be a team that's going to be a winner. And that to me says a lot about what was built here, is that you just don't want a paycheck, but you want to go to a winning organization of what you saw here.
That's dope. That's dope. So speaking of, Donna, you talking about players who look like we weren't going to return. So Dujunnea, I'm gonna ask you this. The players that are free agents, who would you like to see come back for the Washington Commanders?
I think that you have to have, Bobby Wagner has to be back, because he is more than just a player for this team. He's more of a coach, and he's definitely a leader, and he's been there before. And you've got a young team that you have to constantly build up that, because some of them ain't never been here. As some of the players told me, Jeremy Chin said, I ain't never won when they won 7 games or 8 games. I've never won that many games. And some of these players that, this was the first time that they really have won that many games in their whole lifetime career, even as Pee-wee football starting there. So, Bobby is a person that you definitely have to come back. I think Jeremy Chin is one that, I don't know if he's a free agent.
He's a free agent.
Yeah, you got to bring him back. Tressway, you got to bring him back, because you can't find punters like him.
He's a free agent?
Yeah, I think so. Tress is.
Tress is a free agent. I had my little list of people that I had over here that I said that it's a must bring back and everything. But I think that those are Zach. I even would bring him back, because I think that he can play and that he can help this team. And I think that he brings the work ethics that you love. Like he said, he loves the process. He told me, I was talking to him on locker cleanout day, and he said he loves the process of what you have to put in to be a winning team. And he loves the fact that this team loved the process also. He loves players that love that process. I'm looking down the list, but those are some. But even Cornelius Lucas, do you bring him back? Offensive linemen are hard to come back. And do you bring back Trent Scott, another offensive lineman that could be backups? I'm not talking about starters.
Yeah. I know.
Because you all talked about the fact of depth on the offensive defensive line, and you got players in there that doing that. Do you bring Holmes back? And I'm looking at Noah Brown. I think that he showed value of having a big receiver of his caliber, because a big target. Look what he did when he was in the game, as far as early during the season. So do you bring him back? I would say, yeah, I would bring him back too. And even Crowder, Jamison Crowder, special teams player, I would bring him back. He wants to come back. He talked to me. He said, hey, I want to come back to this team. I think I have value as a receiver and a return man. And it's hard sometimes to find a return man. The running back room, I think that they're set there. I think Nick McNichols is the only one that is not under contract, and Chris Rodriguez, I don't know, because Chris Rodriguez was in and out, from different times. But what he did was, when he did come in, and Coach Quinn and all of them talked about that, he balled out.
Sure did.
So if he's not on this roster, he put together a resume reel that somebody is going to want him. But I think they like him. But I don't know about running back, because I think that they're still trying to navigate through that as far as that. But those guys that I called out was, key people that I definitely would probably bring back, and maybe some of the other ones. But those are the ones that really stand out that I would say, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
What about you, bro?
Me, it would be Jeremy Chin. I think he's a linchpin back there. He's a guy that brings the noise. He brings the beef and really, provides that attitude in that secondary, bringing the hits. Got to bring back Bobby Wagner. He's the Godfather, basically. He is really, he's the guy that's going to really galvanize the locker room with his knowledge and what he's done in his career. People respect that. He kind of reminds me of when London Fletcher was here in his career, what he provided. He kind of is that same guy. I would bring back Jamison Crowder as well. I think Jamison Crowder, with his skills, especially in that slot position, can really help Luke elevate his game, because I do think Luke McCaffrey is going to be one heck of a slot receiver. And I think Jamison can help him in that regard. And I bring back Zach Ertz. To me, Zach Ertz being on this team, I think you saw an elevated play from a Bates You know, that catch in that game in Detroit by Bates, you might not saw that 2 or 3 years ago.
Not even last year.
Yeah, even last year. You probably don't even see that from him. That was huge. And that says a lot about having a veteran guy who knows how to come in, knows how to work on the craft to get better. I think that's going to be a benefit for a guy like Ben Sinnott. I know a lot of people were hoping to see him a little bit more out there on the field, but I think it's coming. You saw that play with the fake punt by Tress and him make that catch there. I think that having Zach Ertz here is going to be big. And of course, like Donna said, Tressway's got to be back. He's the elder statesman, but he's kind of like the guy. He's kind of like the commander. He's been here and he's been solid. Punters are not easy to come by, and flipping the field is something that you have to be able to do in this league and in this game. And especially as aggressive as Coach Quinn is, you want to have that guy in your back pocket just in case you don't want to go for it on fourth down, so that he can flip the field and give your defense a little bit of a room to kind of get after it and get that ball back for you so you can have the short field.
Hey, Wally, can I add one more?
Yeah, of course.
Marcus Mariota. At first, when they drafted him, I mean, when they picked him up, I was like, why? But
I was that person too.
I'd say that you bring him back because he has helped. We talk about Kingsbury that has helped Jayden Daniels. Marcus Mariota has really helped Jayden Daniels a lot as far as his development. People don't see that because they're not at practice or anything. But if you talk to Jayden, this is a guy, and even Coach Quinn, that has helped Jayden just as much as Kingsbury has. And I think that he's a good enough backup quarterback that you could keep him for another year too. And I think that he adds a lot of value in staying on this roster.
I mean, he won games, and on top of that, I think this offense fits him. I really do. I mean, the success he had in the offense, I know there were a ton of questions. You know, everybody had questions about him being here, but he actually came in and won games. He wasn't throwing picks all over the place. He wasn't a liability. He actually came in and just kept things going, and at times he elevated. So I definitely agree with you on that. His knowledge, along with his stability and being able to be confident that if something were to happen, that you have him as a backup is huge. And I think it's huge for a guy like Sam Hartman as well to have him in the building.
That's a good point. Definitely too, for Sam Hartman, who's been signed for next year. So I'm reading the comments about the same question. The 54 said most costly free agents to bring back Chin, most impactful Wagner. Holdover that must stay with Tressway, bang for buck, Brown, Noah, Bates, Ertz. I'm so Paul. Who else? Dan said he wouldn't mind bringing back Zane Gonzalez.
Yeah, I think so too, because kickers, we found out this year that if you don't have that person, then it's going to be a hard year. Look at the kicking around the league was horrible this year.
It was.
Look at Baltimore. They had the number one guy, but he kind of like fell apart this year. Dallas had everybody across the NFL had problems with their kicking game this year. So you definitely have to put that into place. But I like De'Ami Brown to come back too, because I think that he showed some value this year of what he could do in an offense that really fits him. So it's going to be interesting, to see how this all plays out. But one good thing about this Commanders, I think that Jeremy Chin could get paid, because remember, the Commanders have a salary cap, a huge salary cap, that money is not the thing. But of course, they're not going to mortgage the team, giving a lot of people that. But I think that Jeremy Chin showed that he, they really like him. And I think that he showed value of why he should get paid to stay on this team for a long. And the Commanders tested out a lot of people with that 1 year contract to see, hey, is this guy going to really fit in here? And if so, come second year, then we may sign them for longer. So they were smart about that too.
No, they definitely were smart with their money this year. Dan said Gotta get Noah Brown back. I'm not the biggest. I mean, whatever. Like I will say this about Noah. I don't hate on Noah, but he's injury prone too. So I'm
Well,
not
that's
like
the key thing right there.
injury prone.
Got to be available.
Yeah. So I don't feel like you got guys that you can try to either draft or guys you can sign or re-sign with who you can believe in terms of health. Why just bring that dude in and keep that dude and save that?
And Dante Fowler, you got to bring him back. So I think that
I will. You know what? All right. So this is wild about Dante Fowler. So I do have a thing about Dante Fowler. I have my list of guys who I do want to bring in, but like Paul said, Chin, Wagner, Trest, Diami, Ertz, Lucas. I do like Lucas too. Donna, you mentioned Lucas. I do think they should bring back Lucas because he's a good swing tackle. He's a good swing tackle. I just think that what he brings to the table is underrated. What he brings to the table is so underrated. Yeah. So I would bring back Wagner. Wagner's my first. Like I don't even like that's it. He sets the tone. He's the London Fletcher of this team. He's that person. I don't care how old you want to say he is. He's Bobby Wagner. He makes everybody better. Then Zach Ertz. Like Zach Ertz is like I think people like what he did this season, and especially that last postseason game. Like we take away age. If he was 25 years old, we wouldn't be saying nothing about Zach Ertz. We'd be like, we got to resign this dude. So the only thing that hinders Zach Ertz is the thing age. He outperformed his contract. Like he played that well, especially down the stretch. When you needed him, that's the most important thing. Down the stretch, when you needed something, when Jayden needed a big play, a big conversion, a big third down, a big fourth down, Zach Ertz was very reliable down the stretch. So
but Wally, you know why he lasted? Because the Coach Quinn from day one said that you will have a rest day every Wednesday. Started that out at the beginning of the year. So Zach was talking about that in the closed presser. I mean, when the locker room clean out and everything, he said that Coach Quinn is so smart in what he does because from day one, it didn't wait until the middle of the season or anything like that. He decided at the beginning because that his age, I still don't understand why that's so old, but that's another story. But again, he said that Wednesday would be his rest day for the whole year. So that's the reason why, he was preserving his body, an older body, for the whole season. And that's why you saw Hurts be Hurts of what we saw, Ertz.
Yeah. I just think that to your point, like I just think that he was, and I've always been a fan of Zach Ertz too, even in Philadelphia, we're in Arizona. I've always been like a fan of what he brings to the table, especially for young quarterbacks. And he did that for Jayden. And I feel like like we talk about continuity with Jayden Daniels. That dude is his safety valve. If it wasn't Terry, it was definitely him. And I feel like anything that can help Jayden get to the next level, consistent in terms of consistency, you got to bring that dude back. Like you see it, the chemistry is there. That's not when he talked about Jay can extend his career. That wasn't just fluff. You can see it. Like you can see the chemistry. That chemistry is real. So in terms of chemistry, you got to bring Zach Ertz back. It's not going to be a crazy amount of money. I think you bring him back. Bring him back. Draft another tight end in terms of his successor, or if you believe that Ben Sinnott is the guy, like have him there to learn under him. But in my opinion. Like in terms of Zach Ertz, like I'm definitely signing him. And De'Ami Brown's my guy. Like I think De'Ami Brown showed enough about what he can do with this offense. Like he plays down the stretch. I know people are going to like use the fumble to kind of diminish what he did a little bit.
I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, but even in that game, he had like about 47 yards receiving. So even for number two, he had a good game for a number two wide receiver in the Philadelphia game. So like you look at his stats in the postseason, he did work in the postseason.
Hey, Wally, let me call out a play in the Detroit game where the guy, he had to go after the ball. The guy had his hands over his face and whatever. He tracked that ball, and I was asking him about that.
Yeah.
He said, I was just looking at the ball. I mean, hands in the face and whatever. Those are plays that he made. He made big time catches this year across the board, but that's one that recently just happened. So I think that he's done enough that I don't know what the pay is, what he wants to be paid, but I think you definitely have to bring him back because he proved that, you don't have to bring in the big time name receivers and whatever, because I think you have, and even Alameda did well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
agreed. Yeah.
I agree.
He stepped up when needed. Another guy who can help Luke along as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I just feel like in terms of like what he brings to the table, is for Diami is an explosive player. Like you saw it in the screen game, and he was tough. Like he's a guy that was tough to bring down. He played physical. So I just feel like, which was the detriment to that fumble. He was being overly physical, and they popped that ball out. But like, so I just think like he showed his worth, especially when the playbook opened up, and then you saw Cliff use him more than one way, and you saw that like you saw what Diami was capable of doing. So, but those are the individuals I would bring back. Fowler, you said Fowler. So the Fowler one, Fowler's 30. He'll be 31 in August. So I'm okay with bringing back Fowler.
There you go with that 30. That's 31.
Yeah, 31.
Wally.
I know he ain't old, but he football old. He ain't old, but he football old.
He didn't play football old.
Huh?
He didn't play football old. He had 10.5.
Exactly. But the year before he didn't get it. The year before he hit the contract year. The year before he didn't do that. So I'm just saying.
He was with the wrong team.
Look. Contract year. I was just saying contract year. All I'm saying is like it depends on what he going like. So I'm cool bringing him back. It depends on what you're asking for at 31 years old.
Definitely
having your best year. Because at the end of the day, like you got to still put him against like the dudes who are going to be in the market. And are they younger? Can they have the same amount of sack? Like for instance, Khalil Mack is old. Like older, but Khalil Mack is the better defensive player. Do I say I want Dante Fowler, or do I get Khalil Mack, who's a better player?
How much you got to give up for him?
That's what I'm saying. It's all about money. It's all about money. It's all about money preference. Now, it depends on what Fowler is asking in comparison to Khalil Mack. Obviously Khalil Mack's going to ask for more, but Fowler, how many million shy is he to Khalil Mack? If he's somewhere in the middle, I'm going to still go for Khalil Mack over Fowler.
But also, does a Khalil Mack fit into a Dan Quinn's team? It's not just about the player's big name and all that and how good he is, but does he fit, or will he be poisoned for this team?
I'll say he'll fit because he's Khalil Mack. He's Khalil Mack. Dante Fowler is a nice guy. Look, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy.
Does he fit into the brotherhood that they built?
Oh, you mean the brotherhood?
Right.
That's what I'm talking about when I talk about.
You're talking about
it's got to be the right fit.
It does.
That's because he could be a great player, but he could be poison for your team.
True.
No, I'm with Don. You're right about that. You're right about that.
The chemistry has to be right for a team, no matter what. And I think that that's what Dan Quinn them said from day one is the players have to fit into what we're trying to build in our culture. And they finally got the culture right. You don't want to end up going backwards. So I mean, I'm not taking from his skill set, but again, these players that we're naming, do they fit into the culture of what this team has built?
I will say this: I trust Adam Peters to do that.
Yeah, me too.
I think they know. Like I say this as a fan from a distance, like in terms of player for player. But you're totally right, Donna. Like I'm not against that. Like that's kind of the thing I had about. That's funny you say that. And Dujunnea, I know you have to leave soon, so I just want to say, and I'll make sure folks catch your social and whatnot. But that's the question I said for Marshawn Lattimore. I feel that's what did him a big disservice that he came in this season to this team in the midpoint of the season. Because I do feel like if he came in the beginning of the season, he would understand the culture. Because I felt like in those particular, and folks, this is not me doing any Marshawn hate because I like Marshawn Lattimore a lot. It's that I felt like he let his emotions get to him in these games. I felt like his emotions got to a certain level where it was more me against AJ Brown, me against Mike Evans, rather than like you said, Donna, the brotherhood, like, and that's a message that was preached in the offseason. Mm-hmm. So I do want to see, I think to your point, when you're talking about these free agents, and I feel like Lattimore will get it, he'll get it in the offseason. So because he'll see how everybody's moving. But I do think to your point, you do want to bring in somebody who kind of can get that from day one. And I felt like, which was unfair for Lattimore, is that he had to do that in the mid part of the season. And by that time, you are who you are. You're used to what you're used to. You're used to what you were dealing in New Orleans. So now you're just trying to get in. You try to find a lane to fit in. You know what I'm saying? And get indoctrinated into the culture. But you still got to see how that whole thing moves from the beginning. And I think for Lattimore, he'll get to learn from the beginning. So to your point about a free agent you bring in, the attitude off the rip has to fit in. And I agree with you. The attitude has to fit in. 100. Hey, Dujunnea, before I let you go home, and let folks know how to catch you on social media and catch your content, bro.
Man, just check me out at NotBland21 on everything. Love talking shop with you guys. You can check me out at the Not Bland Show on YouTube. Come over, check us out. We talk a lot of NFL. We talk a lot of NHRA drag racing. We talk Commanders. We talk NFC South, as that also is something that I cover at Sports Journey. And you can catch all the work that I do at sportsjourney.com. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Wole. And it was nice being on with the greats, being able to chop it up with you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate you. Thanks for jumping on.
For sure.
All right, my man. All right, so Don, I'm gonna let you go shortly soon too. You know, I mean, because you're one of my favorites. So Paul had a question. I want to make sure I did read his question. It was a good question. Paul said, question: what is everyone's expectation for next season? Personally, I want to see improvement with the roster and make the playoffs with at least one home game.
Yeah, I think that Adam Peters said in his closing presser that, you know, they're at the Senior Bowl right now, just hopping right back into the next thing, assessing where they need to go from here. So I think that, you know, putting down on paper as far as the exit interviews and so forth, I think they got a feel for what they need, what they're looking at within the draft. Can they find it there? Within free agents, can they find it there? That they, I think, will go back and look and set through where did we need, or where did we have the most hiccups this year? Why weren't we able to run the ball as successfully as we wanted to? Because that was huge for them. On defense, we talked about there, how can we get better? Because they know that, you know, teams were able to run on them throughout the year. So I know that they know some key areas that they want to improve upon. And like I said, it could be Adam Peters, to me, has done had a phenomenal year. And from day one in how he was putting together this team and building this team, getting your quarterback, and then now navigating about where do we go from here? What do we need to plug in still? And throughout the year, the reason why this team was successful too, because the player personnel with Adam Peters and all of them, they were plugging in people throughout the whole year. To help this team, to bring in a Lattimore in the middle. And you think about it, what team would have brought in a player that they know that was hurt with a hamstring, but they saw some value there on down the stretch, because the key thing was for them to get into the playoffs. And they did just that, you know, in plugging in different people. So I think, you know, this group understands where they need to go to get better. And they did some of that this year. And so I think Adam Peters has been with winning organizations that and let me tell you, Adam Peters don't play. He does not play about what he wants to build with this team and everything. So I think with good leadership in place with him, Coach Quinn, and all the other staff, that they have a pulse on where they need to go from there. Jayden, I talked to him a little bit after you know, the clean out locker room. And, you know, he said he's going to take a little time off and then right back. The players even said, take a little time off to spend with my family. You know, Allegati said, that he'll, you know, hasn't seen his family much this season. So he'll take a couple of weeks off and get right back into it. Who have you heard that say through a whole season that they had up until close to February, and they started back, you know, in OTAs and all that, to say, I'm just going to take a couple of weeks off and then I'll be right back to getting my body right and working out and all that. That's a winning attitude. And that's what you're hearing from all these players. And Coach Quinn talked about the brotherhood. I talked to him about, you know, what was his parting words to the team that he wanted to leave with the players, whether they were on the roster or not. And he was talking about the brotherhood and checking in on each other throughout this course before the season starts. So they have a lot of things in place to keep this group together as a unit. Even though they may not be on the field of play, they are still going to be connected, because Coach Quinn and all of them are going to make sure that people reach out to each other and they reach out to those players.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this team, you know, builds on it. So Donna, what is it for this team? Like, this team got to the NFC Championship game. And you got to think big now. This team is now, folks are going to believe that this team is something different. depending on the off season, they do some improvements. People want to think they could take their team to the next level. What does this team need to do to now advance to the Super Bowl for next season?
Yeah, it's hard to get there. I mean, to get to the NFC Championship game is tough. To get to a Super Bowl is even tougher. Kansas City is one of the only few teams that's gotten there back again. And I, look at them, figure out their formula, and then you'll have the answer. How about that? How about I leave it at that? Look at Kansas City and dive into what they've done for the last 3 years to get back there, because ain't nobody did it but them to be able to have it. Because as players told me, it's hard to get to a championship round of the playoffs. Each year, how many teams have you seen go back over and over again? It's the teams that put that offensive and defensive line in place, and have a good running game. Ask Philadelphia, because they've been there, in the last few years quite a bit. I mean, a few times and so forth. But when you talk about Buffalo, what they did this year, you would have thought that they were going to be there. But the formula, I think, is with Kansas City and what they did. They have a solid quarterback. Washington has that person. They have that. Kansas City doesn't have really like a running game, but they got better in the second half of the season. They have solid offensive and defensive line. Okay, take that from them also. And then they don't even have really big time receivers. They have a solid tight end in Kelsey. Did not play his best ball all year. Save that for later, but they shut him down last week. Buffalo did. But still, they had a solid tight end all these years to go with Patrick Mahomes, where Washington got Ertz. That's why we said it's important to have him back, and maybe Ben Sinnott. He steps up this year because they like him. He's got a year under his belt. So I think it's key pieces like that you have to add to be a championship team, because come next year, Washington has a tough schedule. If you look at that schedule, it is not a play. With success comes harder competition as far as the teams that you play. They're out on the West Coast a lot, playing the championship teams. Most of the teams they play have been in the playoffs and so forth. They've got to step up their game to go to another level. They went to several levels this year.
Yeah, several levels.
But now you got to go to double that next year with the schedule that you have. So that's the reason I say it is key, but to put some of those pieces into place. And I told you already, I believe that it starts in the trenches with that line play on both sides.
No, I totally agree. Hey, Donna, before I let you go, man, let folks know how to catch you on social media and catch your content.
First of all, let me say Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus every Wednesday and Friday on Mid-Atlantic Sports Net, and Saturday morning. And we have a podcast called In the Minute. I put all kind of contents in there from the players and everything. So if you haven't saw it all season long, go back in. You can go backtrack to see what players said. I'm going to post something later on, probably today, tomorrow, for the locker room cleanup. Social media, Instagram, DJ Hop 32. I got that right, Wally.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
And
yes, you did.
X, Donna J Hopkins _. Got that right.
See, and it's right here too. See,
got that right too.
You said, did you say J? Did you say J? There's no J. Oh, you didn't say J.
No,
it's just Donna Hopkins.
Sorry, but you saw it right there. And as I always say, Facebook DJ Hopkins. But overall, I post a lot of things on X, try to keep you up. Wally making me build that up. I try to do a little bit, but Instagram, that's where you'll see a lot. And then on our podcast, In the Minute, we're going to have different things all season long. We have one coming up with an interview with Daryl Green. Awesome. That's going to drop either today or tomorrow. But as Wally say, just put my name in there and pull it up. You'll find me.
Yeah, she's right. Just search her. You search Donna Hopkins, you're going to find some. You're going to find all the content.
You'll find me.
Look, I'm making it easier for y'all. Donna Hopkins, Commanders, you'll find me.
That's it.
That's a guarantee. That's a guarantee. Like, it's a guarantee. Hey, Donna, thanks for being on. Appreciate you. Thanks for doing this like overtime. I know I was supposed to have you this morning.
No. It's always fun and everything. I told somebody it's been an overload today, but I'm happy. It's a long season, but it's a happy season. I just want to leave this. This has been one of the best seasons I had as far as enjoying covering the team. I've been covering the Commanders, Washington Redskins, Washington football team, all the names they have for a long time. But I can say that because of this coaching staff, Coach Quinn and Adam Peters and leadership group with owners and all of that. It's been a fun year with the players too. I mean, A+ quality players, getting to know them, interviewing them. It was totally fun this year for me in so many ways. I mean, winning helped too, but really the character of the players and the coaches and everything made it so much better. So, I've enjoyed it to the utmost, but I need a rest now.
I think you do. And we enjoyed your coverage because you have had some great interviews, some great from training camp to the regular season to the postseason. So shout out.
I try to bring you the truth always. I will always be honest with you, and I won't be sugarcoating anything.
That's one thing Donna does not do is sugarcoat. She does not sugarcoat it. Hey, thanks, Donna. You have a good one. Get some rest, please.
All right. See everybody.
All right. See you, Donna. Paul said bye.
Bye, Paul.
All right. See you, Donna. All right. Cool. All right, y'all. That was Donna Hopkins, one of the legends in the game. Donna is one of the legends in the game. She's one of them. You know what I mean? One of the best reporters in Commanders lore, for real. Donna is awesome. We got another comment. Who we got a comment? All right, yeah, bye. Oh yeah. Deluxe, I'll tell you said bye, man. I apologize. Should have got this one quicker. Because yeah, Donna appreciates all the love, man. She does. But yeah, appreciate y'all for pulling up. We had a good show. We're still gonna talk to the Commanders throughout this year. You know, football season never ends. We got the draft, we got free agency, we got a lot of topics. All burger and go everything. We're gonna talk about pretty much what moves we should make off the rip. So on Thursday, we already got a show already planned out for that. All burger and go everything YouTube channel. You already know that's the other channel that's completely Commander stuff. So we already got that planned out. But yeah, man, hopefully, man, this was a great season. I was in love with this season, man. This season brought back the old me where I was stressing out. Retaining our own. Yep, I agree. Yeah, it's our first step, man. Retaining our own is the first step. I agree with you, man. I will say this, man. Always desiring the other team's talent. Know what you got here in the building that worked for you. Try to retain that. I agree with you, Deluxe. Yeah, I'm ready, bro, Paul. I'm ready. I'm ready for next season. I ain't gonna hold you. I feel like now we know that we got stability with it too, man. There's no injury going into the next season. We got the same staff. We're gonna have the same offensive coordinator, same head coach, same DC. Everything's the same. So one thing, we got a young franchise quarterback. He should be better because of it. You know what I'm saying? We saw situations here where we could sustain success because we were moving different coaches, different elements, different players. Now we're in a situation where now, man, we got everything in the building. Everybody's in the building. You know what I'm saying? The only thing now we can do is to grow it and cultivate it. So when it comes to Jayden, I would, man, give him one of the best offensive lines in football. I feel like you give Jayden one of the best offensive lines in football, there is nothing no team can do to stop him. You know what I mean? So that would be my thing on terms of the offense. On the defense, give him a defense that's just that can get the ball and also get stops. That way, when they have those long drives, the defense is able to rest it and be able to get stops. That way, it's not a track meet even within the Commanders winning the time possession game. Yeah, man. Yeah, Deluxe. This season was fun. Honestly, haven't felt this good about this team. Me too, Deluxe. I haven't felt this good about this team in such a long time. I feel like the future is definitely bright. This is. I don't feel like I'm so confident that we're gonna come back. There's no sophomore slump. I feel like the way this team is constructed, the way this team is being coached, the way that they got grown-ups in the building, ownership, Adam Peters. Look how he hit in this draft, man. And he killed the draft for real. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing but positive things, man. I think Jordan McGee's probably gonna have a good year next year. He's gonna get an opportunity. He's gonna play well. Yeah, man. I'm geeked, man. I'm geeked for next season. I'm totally geeked for next season. I think that a lot of even though we got a tough schedule, I think we're gonna still be playing high level football. High level football. I think Mikey's gonna be Mikey's gonna be 10 times better than he was this year. I think Mikey has an opportunity to be a top 10 corner. I truly believe it. I truly believe that. To come and do what he did, going from slot nickel to outside and play this, man, you can't tell me nothing. I think Mikey's gonna be special. Yeah, Deluxe. This team's built for sustained success and competitiveness. They will be in the conversation. I believe it. Totally with you, bro. Totally with you, my man. It's gonna be, man. We're gonna rock it, man. We're gonna rock it. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're gonna rock it. We're gonna be one of those teams. It's gonna be hard to deny us. You know what I'm saying? I could see us easily win the NFC East next year. But again, we're gonna have to do what the Eagles did. We gotta be big and mean on both lines. I do think so. We gotta improve the defensive line, the offensive line. There's a reason why like Detroit made that transition to being a good football team. They got hurt. Oh my God, Hutchinson got hurt on their defensive line, which hindered their defensive line. But you know, their team was built on the offensive line and defensive line. That's why they were a good football team the last couple of years. I feel like we do the same thing with Jayden as a quarterback. We're gonna be a problem. We're gonna be a serious problem. But I feel like, and I trust Adam Peters. I think he'll address it. You look at the Niners; that's how they built their team: offensive line, defensive line. So if anything, I believe that Adam Peters will do the same thing here in DC. I think he'll build our offensive line and our defensive line. I totally believe that. All right, y'all, man. Before I end the show, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and other podcast platforms. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. Also, follow us on X at Urban Sports Scene, IG and TikTok at Urban Sports Scene, and like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. If you're on YouTube right now, you have not subscribed to our channel, hit our Urban Sports Scene YouTube channel. Hit that red subscribe button right now because we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're getting there. And also like this video. Also, you can check us out on our website, which is www.urbansportscene.com. Anyway, man, I appreciate y'all for pulling up. This has been a dope show. Appreciate Donna, Dujunnea, Candi for being on, giving us that great Commanders content, information, just conversation, discussions. It was awesome. Everybody in chat, Paul, Deluxe, who am I missing? The 54th, Dandon, Coach. Who else? Oh, Joaquin. Who else? Who else I got out here, man? Yeah. Attitude Pop number 3. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate y'all pulling up. Anyway, man, you've been listening to the Urban Sports Scene for ages. Deuces. Your boy Wole is